Good to go.
Okay. Am I okay to start right now, this second?
Sure are.
Sure am. Brilliant. Okay. Well, morning, everybody. Welcome to this session, this workshop on dark sky places. My name's Dan Oakley, and I'm an officer for the South Downs National Park, and I'm the current chairman of the Dark Skies Committee. And although I think we're separated by many time zones and huge distances, I can already feel the enthusiasm, the anticipation and the excitement of what this is going to be a great session to help you understand the processes and just kind of create new dark sky places. And that's what it's all about, really, isn't it? We want more dark sky places in the world, that we can celebrate our dark skies in many different ways. And we've got a great panel to help you do that today. So it's going to include myself, and we've got Sabine Frank, who's come from Fulda. She's waving hello. We've got Eleanor Muller, who from the Kalahari Park, and Johanne Roby. Robbie, I've pronounced that right, from Montmagny. And each of us has got a different kind of park and reserve and community. And we're going to be using kind of our knowledge and our experience we've had with those to just to give you some hints and tips and different perspectives. So the order is we're going to spend about a quick 5 minutes each just going through what really made our parks different from a certain kind of a viewpoint. Maybe it might be more community based, it might have been more policy based. We'll do that, and then we would open the floor up, I believe, to some questions and things like that. Let me just check. I can see the chat. I can see some chat. There we go. No many questions yet. So we've got a bit of housekeeping first, though. So as always with these conferences, if you're not talking, if you could mute yourself. We have got some closed captioning going on, and we've got auto translations of those captions. You all should have seen the code of conduct that was emailed to you in your various packs about being nice and respectful and things like that. And I would just add, as this is a Dark Skies Places workshop, I'm sure there are going to be some you really want to understand how your place can fix some of its really specific issues. Now, although we're going to be talking quite generally, I think if you've got anything that's really specific that we probably won't understand as a panel, I suggest that it's probably better to email the IDA staff separately with those issues. We'll try our best, but if there's anything we can't really answer or give you certainty on, that might be better to do outside of this. Okay, so we've got that over and done with. So let's have a quick kind of like overview of the panel and where we're coming on. So I'm from the South Downs National Park, which for those that don't know, it's in the UK. It is just south of London and above Portsmouth and Southampton. And it is, we designated it as a dark sky reserve in 2016, I think it was. And the space that we occupy is very light polluted. You know, we've got London to the north, and there are a lot of people living in our national park. We kind of stand out a bit differently because of just this population. And if you added up all the populations of all the UK parks put together, that's still not as much as in the South Downs. So our demographic is much different from a national park anywhere in the world. So our approach to the dark skies was to look at where we could have the best impact. Now, a lot of other places were very focused on communities and knocking on doors and getting really precise engagement with residents. And we can't do that. 110,000 people, multiply that by houses, commercial, we're talking thousands of individual light bulbs that we couldn't reinforce, we couldn't change. So for the South Downs, it was important, I think, to look more outwardly, to look at more partners and policies and partnerships to try and get some greater changes in the UK legislation. So we were kind of, we spearheaded setting up the UK Dark Skies Partnership, which is a collaboration between UK places, enlightening institutions, policy advisors, and we try and talk dark skies at a bigger, more national level to try and get that more up there. Because we figure if we can get the legislation changes, then we can affect all of those little light bulbs across the South Downs. So that was our tactic, that was our strength. And I think if you looked at our National Park website, you'll see some really good technical advice notes, you'll see some policies, and you even see specific guidances on some really targeted threats like Christmas lighting and Creative Commons and all that kind of stuff. So that was us. So let's go around the rest of the panel now, so they can give you a bit of an overview of their uniqueness. And we'll start with, I will go top right, we'll go with Sabine, I think, first.
Hi there. Well, yes, we've become Dark Sky Reserve 2014, and it's a UNESCO biosphere area and also a nature park. And it stands out for a really seldom biodiversity. It's one of the 30 hotspots for biodiversity in Germany. So it's a very valuable area, and but I've never thought about the night, just looking at daytime actions as just like everywhere. And the Rhön is, it's called Rhön, that's the mountain range, the name of the mountain range. And our area is surrounded by quite dense municipalities. So like there's Fulda in the west with 80,000 or 70,000 people, and it's just surrounded by large municipalities. So that's the reason why we chose Dark Sky Reserve to have these buffer zones. And we started, when we started, we got certified with the old regulations of the IDA. So we have no time limit or deadline for conversion, which was good at the time because light pollution was not known as a word or as something to do. But in the following years, we just realized that we need to make more binding regulations. And it's just like you said, we obviously enforce legislation on national basis, but also we try to get into land development plans, building permits, call for tenders, funding programs. So even if law changes, it doesn't mean that things change immediately right in front of where you are. So that's why we try, that's how we try to prevent the growing of light pollution, looking at the future by making legislation or making rules for building permits, land development plans, and so on. And also looking at all the bad light that has been existing, we try to go for partnerships and cooperations like with the Chamber of Commerce. So that's our strategy, looking in both ways, future, avoiding by making stronger regulations, actually in cooperation with the nature conservation groups like Ingeborg, I can see her in our audience, and also taking, well, the worst light polluters are industry in my eyes, and so we try to talk with them actively.
Brilliant, thanks for that, Sabine. I think you can see the difference there between the South Downs and Fulda is I think there's much more domestic engagement and looking at legislation at a different level, which is all important, isn't it? You've got to look at your threats and your opportunities and see what works for you. So let's go round to the next one on my screen. So Johanna, it's over to you to say hello and do the same thing.
It is me, Dan. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, hello everyone. So, the Parc du Mont-Bellevue is located, so I'm from Sherbrooke, Canada, and I will talk about the Parc du Mont-Bellevue. So it's located in the heart of the city of Sherbrooke, which has a population of approximately 200,000 people, which officially became UNSP last September. So this largest park in the city of Sherbrooke is home to a complex ecosystem and also remarkable biodiversity and need to be protected as natural reserve, including its nocturnal integrity. The park is a natural urban environment appreciated by the citizens of Sherbrooke City. It is located close to the main campus of the University of Sherbrooke. Therefore, it is an exceptional place for educational, recreational, sporting, and research purposes. It is surrounded by a neighborhood in constant development. This means that there is much more light pollution around the park than in a park that is further away from the city. Thus, UNSP accreditation in Parc du Mont-Bellevue has been a great challenge to achieve, especially because of its location and the surrounding urban densification. One of our first challenge was the park belonged to two owners, the University of Sherbrooke and the City of Sherbrooke, and which are two large institutions with a huge administration department. These two major stakeholders must be consulted in order to reach agreements such as the implementation of a lighting management policy and changing the light in the park. So we have succeed in this first challenge. We must now ensure the sustainability of these actions. Other important challenge is to reduce light pollution around the park. We will raise awareness and encourage the adoption of good night lighting practices by manager, merchant, and the public. So how we are doing it? With manager, the City of Sherbrooke is already very involved in reducing light pollution because the Sherbrooke is an integral part of the Mont Mégantic Dark Sky Reserve. Just like the PMB. Since 2007, the City of Sherbrooke has adopted a lighting management policy that regulates all outdoor public lighting fixture within city limits and light pollution control by law. For the UNSP accreditation, Sherbrooke is working with us to change the light that produce the most light pollution in the park. Several of them has been changed in the last year. For the University of Sherbrooke, is also involved in reducing light pollution by changing its light on the campus by following good night lighting practice. By example, the use of PC amber for their light. The UNSP accreditation is also a great honor for them. Several research departments will collaborate on monitoring indicators in the park, including light pollution. And also last September, the university, in collaboration with the city and the CEGEP, organized an event to celebrate the Starry Sky, bringing together the science and the art, and it will be an annual event. The CEGEP de Sherbrooke has a research group on light pollution under the supervision of Professor Martin Aubé and myself for more than 10 years. It involves students in various projects related to light pollution and its impact. One of these projects is the establishment of the Starry Night Oasis in the park. So considerable research work has been done in link with the project and will ensure the sustainability of the UNSP accreditation. I'm close to be done. And for the merchant, the first International Dark Sky Reserve has implemented a Starry Sky friendly certification for business that adopt good night lighting practice. This certification is intended to highlight the business that participate in the project. And with the citizens, they are very proud of this park and this accreditation, and they very appreciate it and want to contribute to the project. So several awareness campaigns were held, by example, kiosk on light pollution. Also, the Starry Night Oasis in the park has a great success with the media and join the people, make them very proud to contribute to protection. We also develop a nocturnal integrity neighborhood close to the park as a model for good night lighting practice. We changed the private exterior light of several homes to 1,500K amber bulb. And these bulbs are very popular and are now on sale in Sherbrooke. So in conclusion, the UNSP accreditation is part of a large community project that involves educational institution, the first International Dark Sky Reserve, the City of Sherbrooke, the population, and several community organizations. The park is in the center of the city and allow us to reach a large population to make them aware of the impact of light pollution and of good night lighting practice. Moreover, the park is part of the campus university, so many students are involved in research or educational projects related to light pollution. They are our future agents of change. Finally, since we have obtained UNSP accreditation, we are very proud to be part of the IDEA family and promote its mission. We hope that the park will become a model for other parks in the region. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Johanna. I mean, it's it shows just how complex places can be when you work with cities. You have to think of many, many different lights. So last one, I used to be a ranger with the South Downs, and we used to be amazed at little butterflies and birds. So we're going to now go to a completely different place, Kalahari, with a different set of pressures where, you know, South Downs, our wildlife doesn't eat the visitors, but, you know, this could be an interesting one here. So Eleanor, over to you to talk about yours.
Hi, everybody. Good day to you wherever you are. So I'm speaking on behalf of the Kalahari Heritage Park, which is the ancestral home of the Kamani San, who are one of the San communities who are the first peoples of Southern Africa. And depending on how you understand DNA, first peoples possibly of the world. It is a desert landscape. The park itself is also a UNESCO cultural landscape of the Kamani San. The park is inside a large transfrontier park, the Kalahari Transfrontier Park, under the custodianship of the South African National Parks. The reason I give you all those different designations is to understand that this is a place of a wide variety of interests. It has what I would call in South African terms, very traditional conservation mandate. It is the home of the black-maned lion, the biggest lion species in the world. Yes, they are technically capable of eating us. Leopard, cheetah, 2 different species of hyena, reptiles, scorpions, more predators than you want to know about that can do great damage to you. So therefore, when we first applied for our designation and we went under the reserve concept, the IDA said to us, no, but people have got to come in at night and look at the stars. And we said, no. We want them to go home afterwards. So our certification took quite a while as we waited for the sanctuary designation to come through. We have at a maximum 50 people in the park. We provide exactly the antithesis to the other great dark sky places we've just heard about, which are the home to many, many thousands of people. We're in exactly the opposite situation. We only have one tourism facility in the park, a 24-bed lodge named House Lodge. These exclamation marks in the names are clicks. They're called Abiola clicks. They're part of the San language. The most important thing is that for us, the night sky is it's part of our lives. It's part of our landscape. We have a landscape of 12 hours of desert during the day and 12 hours of the night sky at night. You can lie in bed with your curtains open and you can see the greater and the smaller Magellanic clouds with your naked eyes. You look straight into the Southern Cross, and the first thing you're going to be taught is how to navigate to the south. This is the night sky of the day. We have 100% compliance from a point of view of external light shedding and light bulbs. Because it is such a small place, it is something that you can control. But because this is the ancestral home of one of the oldest peoples of the world, our focus is on sharing the storytelling and the traditional stories of those people. These are people whose stories do not come with nice, tidy little constellations. Oh, look at those 7 stars. Those 7 stars make up a story. These are people who integrate the lessons one has to have in life, in nomadic pastoralist and in hunter-gatherer societies, and the day and the night are completely integrated. And so we learn from them that one of the roles of the sun was to allow the animals to go up into the sky during the day and hide from those who wanted to do them harm, because you see the light in the sun allows you to hide. And so from the very most ancient legends that we have from the San people, we learn from them that light hides things. And so today we're working on protecting that absolute darkness which we have. It is our raison d'etre is to show people that the night, that as much as by day we see the world, at night we see the universe. Thanks, Dan.
Brilliant, thanks for that. And I think that's a key point with the Dark Skies narrative over the years, is it's moved from astronomy to health and well-being, and now it's really got to take into account cultural heritage and things like that. So these are all important aspects that you'd be considering for an application. So I should give you a nice little flavour of some different reserves and parks and communities all across the world, and we've all kind of used our strengths and weaknesses. But you're probably wondering about this nebulous, mysterious secret society called the Dark Skies Committee, and how do they work? So I'll give you a quick 5-minute overview of the committee, how it's made up, and essentially what goes through our heads when we look at applications when they come in. So the group is around, we have 10 to 12 people on the meetings. They're all people who have been heavily involved in dark sky applications. Each of us has got a different understanding of different parts of the application process. We've got some astronomers who are very, very good on sky quality. We've got some ones that are park managers that are very understanding of outreach and education. We've even got some who really pay attention to grammar and spelling, which was my curse because mine's terrible. So we all bring a little thing differently to the committee meetings, which we kind of look at applications. But there are some things that are quite common to all our discussions, and I'll just kind of highlight those because I think this is probably quite important for those of you who are going through the process of looking at them right now. So the first one we look for in an application is there a sense of commitment in the application? You know, this document is to celebrate your dark skies, so don't treat it as a tick box exercise, just a procedural thing. Really show off your landscape and the passion your people have for your skies, because that will come through, it will sing through in an application. And we can really spot the difference with those that have really put that onto paper and those who have just kind of looking at it as a good idea, get it and move on. So I think the IDA is all about celebrating what you've got and going forward with it. So make sure that you put that into your applications. The second point that kind of comes up quite a lot is sky quality measurements, and let's say the robustness and the quality of them. Now, we all know, we've all used this sky quality meter at night, late at night, we're tired, we're cold, we want to go home. I know it's only got one button, but you'd be surprised how we can get that wrong, particularly if we give it to other people who don't have to share the same commitment as we do. Because I, for one, was making sure I took the best quality readings I could. But when I pass that over to my rangers who want to go home to Brighton and go out for the evening, they operate on different timescales. So what I would say with your sky quality program is make sure you're robust with it. Look at the differences in quality you've got, because we will be able to spot those things. Any kind of large variances in your averages, there'll be questions, and they often will get pushed back to make you do them again. So really pay close attention, because it could offset your application by a year if you've got to wait for the next winter to get those better results. So plan it in advance, make sure you've got people who want to be there to take those measurements, and look at them afterwards and make sure you present them in a nice way, because there are people on the committee who will spot that and question it. So really pay attention to that. The third thing is, I think, quite important, is looking at your threats and opportunities. So when it comes to threats, don't hide away from them. We see some applications that have mysterious paragraphs about a threat that's on the horizon, that's lurking in a sentence. We will pick that out. We will wonder, well, why haven't you given us any more detail about that? And we're not going to say, you're not going to get designation because of that threat. What's important is the engagement with that threat and the support you're going to give them, how you're going to tackle that. We're not suggesting you can fix it. So in the South Downs, for example, all those little light bulbs that are on everybody's house, that's a threat, but we aren't, as a responsible authority, able to do that. So it's really important that we had a comms plan in place to help educate people to do the right kind of lighting. So we're never going to fix that, but we've done something to show we've dealt with that threat, and that's important. So if you do have threats, be honest with them, but put something in place to show you how you're going to deal with it. You might fix it, you might not, and it might lead to opportunities. And this is the other thing. Each place is different. Each place is going to have their opportunities. So really think about how you can get the uniqueness of your place to provide solutions that other people can use. And we've seen today that the other three panelists have given some great examples of how they've used their landscapes to produce interesting and novel solutions to light pollution. Because what we don't want is a flat approach to it. We need the differences to apply. So that's how I would say to couple that. Look at your threats, but look at the opportunities as well, and really make those sing. Okay, so that's kind of the key things I think of the IDA committee: commitment, passion, celebrate your dark skies, make sure you pay attention to the sky quality because it'll come through, and just don't be scared to tell us about your threats, because often we can help and look for it, and go with the opportunities, because it's the opportunities that are quite fun. The Dark Skies partnership we started when we're talking to the all parliamentary group on dark skies, that was an opportunity. That was how we tried to fix things, and it's really interesting, and it takes you out of just looking at your own your own light bulb, your own reserve. So that's, I think, is a good place to stop, and we will now open it up to questions. And I'm going to look at my WhatsApp. So we have a question already. Where can I get information to send sky quality data? Well, okay, so sending sky quality data usually would come in the form of putting it in your report, your submission, and it's best often to summarize that sky quality data, because you could be taking quite a lot of data, and I think as a committee we don't want to go through pages and pages and pages of sky quality data. We need averages, we need standard deviations, and things like that. Again, in the South Downs, we used a novel technique where I went around with a data logging GPS and a data logging sky quality monitor and recorded every 5 seconds as I drove around. That generated tens of thousands of data points. I don't want to read all those, so we generated a map from it. So for where to send the sky quality data, it will be to the IDA eventually, whether it's through the submission or it's through the annual reports, which has changed. But just make sure, if you are using lots and lots of data, to be succinct about it, but make sure those averages are right, because we will spot those averages. So hopefully that answers that first question. So I've got another question here about a lot of lighting in the South Downs. Very true, there is a lot of lighting in the South Downs. How are you raising awareness? Well, what I'll do, I think I'll pass this over to Johanna to firstly answer, because she's got experience in the urban environment. And if I might add something after that, and so is Eleanor. So let's first go to Johann to ask about how you raise awareness when it comes to high lighting environments. Johanna?
I'm sorry. You call me Johanna, so I'm not. It's not useful for me. That's why I'm. And I'm sorry. The question was with me. It seemed to be hard.
So the question is how can we improve engagement in high lighting environments such as cities? How do we engage, and how do we deal with those lighting threats?
Okay, so as I mentioned, the Sherbrooke City is very engaged by changing their lighting. We have light pollution law control, and we replace all the HPS street light by PC amber. So that's for the city of Sherbrooke, and also for the merchant. You know, the first international dark sky reserve has a certification called Amitié l'étoilée, and you know, we go to see the merchant, and if they change their lighting, they come a friend of dark sky, and for the Parc du Mont Bellevue and around. So we're gonna go to see the merchant and ask them to change their lighting to reduce light pollution. And also we developed a 500K bulb that we offer to the private lighting, the population, and it's a very nice success. So I don't know if it's answered the question.
Yeah, brilliant. I don't know if any other panelists want to chip in with their thoughts on engagement. Eleanor?
I just wanted to drop back quickly to the question of the SQM data that was collected. One of the challenges we have had in the Heritage Park is exactly what you were speaking about the guides who were taking the measures clearly were not always doing the job correctly. You can see it in the data. And circumstances have resulted now requiring a second device. And we've actually chosen to get a stationary logger so that we can put it in and then we can know that we are getting quality data out of it. When we first got involved, there were, I think, only handheld devices available. We were only aware of them. And I've just had a message from the courier to say it's just hit our customs, so we should have it shortly and in place. So consider if you are in a place where you can't guarantee a person who will always give 100% attention to taking that data, to getting a stationary logger. And then I just saw, and I'll quickly answer it, I saw somebody asking how often you've got to provide data. The IDA has just informed us that we're going to have to be taking measures at least 4 times a year through 4 different times, periods of the year, spring, summer, autumn, winter, as you go. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, thanks for that. I should just add to that the 4 times a year, I think we appreciate that places are different. So places further to the equator won't get darkness, so there's not much point in measuring in the summertime. So there is a bit of flexibility with that. And I've just answered some questions that have come through about the sky quality and the expectations to maintain the status. So yeah, it is a challenging part of the process, is to keep doing the sky quality monitoring. And the more complex your place is, if it has a big turnover, that can be quite challenging. So I think the IDA appreciate that, and we are looking at various different ways we can help facilitate that. But at the end of the day, you know, we still need to be sure that the places that are dark are still dark. And to be honest, a lot of that comes from your application, because if we can tell instantly that your place is dark, then we're not going to worry too much about the sky quality measurements that come in, because we know it's dark. So if you're in the middle of nowhere, then we know that stuff. For the South Downs, for example, I think it's quite important that we submit data and to the urban places as well, because that shows we're still on top of it, and we do have a bit more of an enhanced plan on it. But I'm leaving the South Downs in a couple of months' time, and I've got to leave that to the staff to keep doing that, and I worry about that as well. So I have drawn up a very quick protocol based on the IDA guidance to help the rangers do that, and I'll be interested to see how they get on. But I think we appreciate that this is a challenging part of it, and my advice would be is just to try and engage a core couple of people who are willing to do that. 2-3 results are still as good as 10-20. So even if you could just give us the minimum as part of a program to kind of look at the way you do that as a kind of a stopgap, then that's good as well. So don't worry too much about it, but just try and get the measurements where you can at the best times of your day, enable you to do it, because we know it's difficult. We've all got lives that we've got to get on with as well, and the weather plays a part as well. And today's sunny in Portsmouth. We haven't seen the sun in 10 days, so and it's rained constantly. So it would have been great to get some measurements, but we just couldn't manage it. So you know, there are all those kind of problems as well. I'm just going to look for some more questions on sky quality, if I've covered all those. Yeah, just Ashley's mentioned, we are working on the guidance documents to describe the protocol between long-term and short-term monitoring. So we are going to produce some stuff in the coming months, hopefully. So I think we've had a few questions about LEDs and color temperatures and things like that, about fitting. So I think Sabine has already kicked in with a lot of those already with the LEDs. And the question is can we ask the panel how they found local, sustainable and dark sky friendly fixtures? That's an interesting one, because I think when we first started, the desire from the IDA to get the best fixtures wasn't quite there with the technology and the options at the time. The 4,000, 3,000K street lighting is a good example. So I think as Sabine has been already rocking it on the chat with some good questions on that, I think we'll come to her first. So the question is, how do you find locally sourced good light? So assume locally sourced, we're not too bothered about the IDA fixture seal of approval, but that is there as well. But Sabine, maybe you could offer some insights how you tackle that kind of domestic LED market.
Well, I have some funding money, so I can help companies or associations to change lights, and so I'm always like looking at the market, and I have to say it's getting better. But really good quality fixtures are expensive, and at the moment there's just like a lot of cheap crap. Sorry to say that like this, but you haven't got a chance to mount it properly, and people are just not informed enough. And in our area, there's too many people to get quick enough to them in order to so they don't make mistakes. And so that's one of the reasons why we decided we have to regulate more using building permits, in order to give homeowners an orientation what to look for. So, and if you go into the building markets, you have some good ones, but the majority is still bad. But when we look specifically, we can actually see a change in industry. But the reason is not them being dark sky friendly. The reason is that we had a massive change of law in Germany. And there was a light and building fair the other day, at the beginning of October, and you could really see that the industry has understand the message that times are over for crap lighting. So I hope it's getting better. Yeah, Paul, you agree. But on the other hand, that's something I would like to share is we also use foil. I don't know if you know Roscoe foil. Yeah, we use foil and other stuff to make existing lights better. So it's not just about changing them, throwing them away, because that wouldn't be sustainable. But a lot of lights or a lot of bad luminaires you can improve by just changing the angle and using foil to get rid of the blue content of the light. So we do both.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sabine. I've just seen a follow-up question about, I'll just stick on this topic before. We've got a really interesting question on nature conservation I'd like to ask. And it's, how do you get good and dark sky compliant luminaires for people to use? Well, that's a really good question. And I think that really comes from engaging with the right kind of advice and publications. So you'll see that probably all of us sitting on this panel have got some kind of leaflet. We've got some kind of guidance that mirrors the IDA 5 principles to make sure lights are put up in the right way. So although they may buy the cheap crap lights that come from elsewhere, they can still have some degree of control, particularly with how they're installed. Because you could buy a really good light from the fixture seal of approval, but you just could put it up badly, you know. So it's important that we have that backed up. And you'll see different places will use those 5 principles, not only with just domestic kind of like advice, but those principles form the basis of policy. So you will see those policies in planning policy in the UK. You'll see those policies probably in Sabine and Johanne's cities, and you'll see that as part of what we're trying to do in the UK with the legislation. They are the core principles of good lighting. And beneath all of those, you can derive all the different lighting specifications, all the way down to lighting plans, luxes, lumens, all those things that a lighting designer would be interested in are from those 5 principles. So my advice is to use those 5 principles as your starting block. Look at what you can buy and try and to bring the two together. I hope that helps on that. So we're going to turn to a nice, interesting question that came up. We'll take it in a different direction away from sky quality. This is from Niels Howick. He asked, do you utilize nature conservation law, environmental law principles in dark sky advocacy? For example, adherence to the deterioration prohibition with habitats directive. That's an interesting question. In the UK, we have environmental obtrusive law, which only applies to people, which is unfortunate. And we have things like the Wildlife Act that try and prevent harm to key species, but light pollution is not mentioned specifically. So again, one of the things that the South Downs wanted to do was engage with those policymakers to try and make that a bit more, include light pollution in those kind of aspects, and particularly phrasing things like these policies must apply day and night, and that gives it the emphasis. So only a couple of words can change things, but this is about nature, this is about wildlife. So I think, Eleanor, you might have some good interesting perspectives on this. So dig in, have a go, see if you can answer this question.
I still have people all over Southern Africa looking at me with huge, big round eyes when I speak about dark skies as being a conservation issue. We don't yet understand it on the whole. I am very pleased that I know of one very big reserve that is busy working on their application because they have brought this in and they are thought leaders. So I think we're reaching a tipping point of this understanding. But in fact, in practical terms, the issue that has had every single conservation place that I have spoken to, and there are two other places that I have an involvement with, one at the top of the mountains, the Drakensberg, and one near the Limpopo River. What's holding us back at the moment is being able to get compliant with our, what do you call it, light fitting, not the bulbs, the physical light fittings, because we are really, really bad in Southern Africa. So the answer for us is not yet. We'll get there. We'll get there. We have great conservationists in Southern Africa. We'll get there.
Brilliant. Thanks, Eleanor. And again, I think this is just a show of the change of narrative that Dark Skies has had over the 10 years. It's not just about astronomy anymore. It is how does it affect society, not just us, but the wildlife, and ecosystem services are important, things like that. So Dark Skies is really, a cross-societal issue now. And I think the more of you can put that in your applications, the better. I mean, some places are not going to have some of those issues. Those far off places, sanctuaries, don't have those problems of society lighting, but other places do. And I've just come from a lighting course all last week where I was learning about lighting design, and the lighting designers I want to learn more. They want to do the right thing too. They're no longer seen as the producers of pollution. They want to do their bit as well, and they will do that guided by effective Dark Skies policy and examples and case studies. So I would recommend that when you do this, just keep those applications coming. Look at the quality, kind of pay attention to what we've said today, particularly about commitment and things like that, and thinking outwardly as well as inwardly. And I look forward to seeing these applications. They're going to be great. And I should just say, we've got to wrap this up in a couple of minutes, but I will just say that when we see these applications, I get very jealous of some of your places. They are fantastic. The pictures you've got sent in are just like tourist board information, and they are great. They make me want to go there, make me want to get on a plane and just have a look at the stars you've got. I've never seen the Southern Hemisphere. So, anybody from the Southern Hemisphere, send some pictures, send some good applications in, because I want to see some of that. It'd be brilliant. So there we go. We're going to draw it to an end there. I think we're right on bang on time. Thanks for listening. I hope it was useful, and I'm quite happy to answer questions afterwards about things as well. I'm sure the panelists will as well. I would say thank you to Sabine, Johanna and Eleanor for joining in as well. A little plug for the next session, which is a regional session starting at 5 GMT our time. And I think we've got the cocktail hour after that as well. So that'll be really, really good. So thanks for listening. Thanks for coming. I look forward to seeing these applications, as we all do, and more Dark Skies places. That's what it's about. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thanks, Idea, for all your work.
Let's keep going.